Hey, it's Sonia, and welcome to the Marta podcast.
You're gonna love this episode. I can't wait for you to get a chance to listen to Jacob Karnes' advice. I really mean it. His kicked off on giving value to people like you and me that are young professionals that are just either finishing high school, starting university, that are getting their first job. So if you're at the start of your career and you're just about to get that job, or you're at the start of your pathway, of your hobbies, of your first jobs, then definitely take a listen to this episode. And I promise you, even in general, if you want a boost of motivation as to know that you're doing fine, that you love what you do, then this is the episode for you. With over a decade of experience at Chick-fil-A, both in restaurant and at the corporate level, Jacob honed the art of team development. Today, he helps business leaders build and develop high-performing teams that drive success. Jacob is the founder of Waves Business Coaching, where he helps purpose-driven business owners escape the overwhelm of managing complex teams, high turnover, and rising labor costs. Through his personalized coaching and proven frameworks, Jacobs empowers leaders to build dream teams that boost morale, increase productivity, and free them up to focus on what really matters. He's also the author of the insightful book that you will see, Master Your First Job, a practical guide designed to help young professionals navigate their careers with confidence. From building a personal brand at work to earning that first raise or promotion, Jacob shares a clear roadmap for turning your first job into a launchpad for long-term success. He's also the co-host of the Extra Point podcast, specialty coffee enthusiast, a Walt Disney World annual pass holder, and yes, an Enneagram 8, which means he brings passion, drive, and directness to everything he does. So if you're a business leader trying to retain great talent or a young professional ready to grow, this episode has something for you. Jacob Karnes, welcome on the Smart Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
This episode is brought to you by Precedes, an executive search and talent advisory firm that knows people are the true engine of any organization. Precedes doesn't just fill roles, they find the right match, aligning talent with culture to unlock real potential. Because sometimes what makes someone extraordinary isn't on their resume, it's what's waiting to be discovered. Learn more at www.semare.com. Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to dive into your expertise and your story at the end of the day, because while I was researching you up, I just had a moment, like I have to take a moment to appreciate Master Your First Job, how I have the same problem and issue that you've had, and I'm going to explain the situation a little bit for the listener.
Yeah.
Because when I first looked you up, I saw that you have your book for free. I'll say that more later.
Yeah.
And then also, you've done something that I've never seen so far that I really love. That is the video summary and outline of your book that you also wish other books, you know, bestsellers and other big names would have done. And you went ahead and did it. And I looked at that, listened at that, and I thought it was really easy also to dive your way easier into the book. But then also at the end, just have everything pieced together nicely, especially if you read it through chapters that interested you most and not from start to end.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a big deal to me because of the young audience. And hopefully you'll appreciate this. Like, I didn't like reading like through high school, like college, because I felt like a lot of the books I got to read were chosen for me.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you know, I just got to not liking reading because I feel like, you know, I didn't get to choose the books I wanted to read. There's great books out there. I feel like I didn't get all of them. And then when you read a good book, you know, if you put it down for a while or you read it 2 years ago and you come back, I'm like, man, you know, why not use the technology we have and create a 15-minute video summary? And what I've seen too is employers have told me they've used it in their orientation for their young employees for their business. So
amazing.
Really cool way to like summarize the book and make sure that people are actually able to have an impact. The book's able to have an impact and they can have actionable insights in, you know, video form, because reading is not for everybody, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. But the information is. And
that's
so
right. That's right.
Where I want to take you first, Jacob, is imagine you could talk directly with a person listening. And now from all your career spanning over coaching through purpose-driven business owners to writing your best-selling book, for those tuning in today that are at the very start of their journey, as your book, you know, is all about, what would be the top 3 key takeaways that they should listen to from your story?
Man, 3 is tough. This is why I wrote the book that has 10. So I'll start with take advantage of unexpected opportunities.
Okay.
I think that life's best opportunities are those that you don't see coming. And you have to start with a mindset of like being open to that so that you can take advantage of them. And I compare it in the book to in baseball, if a batter never expected a curveball, they'd never hit it. And so you have to expect the curveball might come so that you can actually get a hit. And so in life, I can look back at my story and say that every like life-changing opportunity that came to me was completely unexpected. But if we put walls up and shield ourselves from that, then you won't be able to take advantage of those. So one, I'd say take advantage of unexpected opportunities that come your way. That's a huge part of my story. Oh goodness, the middle, I've thought about this question all morning and I've had a hard
Pick your
time boiling
favorites.
down the
Let's
middle
see.
one. I'll tell you, the most important one I'll say is have fun. Like have fun along the way, especially starting out. Like you're only young once. Like you have an opportunity to try out a few different jobs, do that, but, and I'll say my third one is like work hard and build a good name for yourself. And my favorite chapter in my book is chapter 5, which is about building your brand. And so being able to build your brand, which the company I worked for, it's very big in the US. We've got a couple in Europe now, Chick-fil-A. The founder, Cathy, he said his like life verse from the Bible is Proverbs. Oh goodness, it's in Proverbs. I think it's 22:11. I'm going to butcher this now, but it's that a good name is rather be had than great riches. And he was big on like, I'd rather be known for my name and like my reputation than like how big my company is. And I take that as like a personal brand thing. Can you build a good name for yourself and a good brand for yourself that you're proud of and a reputation that precedes you? So take advantage of unexpected opportunities, build a good name, a good brand, and then have fun. Life's short. Enjoy your time, enjoy your life, and don't take yourself too seriously sometimes. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Following to Simon Squibb's words, you have to enjoy your climb up the mountain because
That's
then once
right.
you're at the top looking at everything, you realize you're already there.
That's
You gotta
right.
climb up the next mountain.
That's right. You're
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. And would I be correct in thinking that your actual opportunity that you didn't expect coming towards you is that you've always, and I'm gonna take you back into your earlier career now,
Yeah.
that you always wanted to have a golfing job. And so where I want to take you next is your book, because you've mentioned
Yeah.
here the top 10 points. Which one should I start to bottle down to the 3 for my previous question? Because you're the author of Master Your First Job. It's here behind you for the people watching here. I just want to introduce it in a couple of words. It's a book about for those embarking on their own career path and seeking to enhance their own trajectory. And you take your own personal example, as you just mentioned, your first job at Chick-fil-A, which you started at 16, and build your way up the ladder, corporate ladder. You worked there for a decade, and then you started your own company. I want to give you a challenge here now for you, Jacob. Imagine you had 60 seconds to pitch your book to the person listening. Persuade them as to why, especially if they're university students or just coming out of high school and they're about to get their first job, why they need to get their hands on this book.
Yeah, great question. So most first-time employees don't know how to navigate their first job opportunity successfully. And they get hired, they hopefully get trained well. That a lot of times that doesn't happen either. They get a paycheck and that's their first job. It becomes a line item on a resume and nothing more. I wrote the book to help people thrive in their first job opportunity and build a foundation for their career using their first job. And so it's the remarkable path from first day to first promotion. That's the subtitle. In the book, you'll learn how to build a personal brand at work, give and receive feedback as a gift, get your first raise, get your first promotion. And again, like build the soft skills you need to build a career. I'd say if I were to go back in time and hand myself a book when I started my first job at Chick-fil-A,
it would be this.
It would be this book.
Yeah,
so that's what I tell people is like for this age group, 16 to 24, like you're getting out of high school or, secondary school, university, college, like that age group, and you're kind of entering the workforce for the first time. There's a lot of great stuff in this book that took me at 10 years to do well. And if you can start to do this from day one, I'm telling you, it's skills that you'll take for the rest of your career.
Absolutely. There you have it.
There you go.
And,
that's the book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's available on Amazon and it's available as a free order link on your website, which I'm gonna link down below. And so where I want to get you to like dive deeper now is the turning point, where it all started. If you can tell me more about the moment that had you think, the light bulb, when you realized actually that you're ready to move on, start your own business, use all the expertise that you gained and creating Waves business coaching, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so the light bulb, it was a lot of light bulbs and honestly, some tough stuff too, if I can be vulnerable. You know, like you said, Chick-fil-A wasn't the job I wanted, but then I ended up loving it at 16 and for a lot of reasons. I loved the competitive culture, like even as like a part-time hourly wage team member, like
for
just
2
like
hours.
I loved it and enjoyed it. Ended up working my way up in the restaurant, got my job at the corporate office here in Atlanta. From there, like I was in this like development program as, you know, a young professional and working, learning and development, got to do a ton of different stuff for Chick-fil-A. And I got really picky about what I wanted my next role to be. And I had applied for a couple of other roles that I got told no for. And it was like really crushing to me because I felt like they were a good fit. And one of my leaders and my bosses had asked me like, hey, if you could take away all role descriptions, like all job descriptions and just write your own role, write your own job, what would it be? And I started to write out this like, well, like I'd love to work directly with business owners. I'd love to have a lot of influence over results and over relationships and with their businesses and with themselves. And like I had read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, which is still like one of my best business books that I think everyone should read. And I'm like, if I can kind of mix this idea of like a business coach and getting to work with business owners and make an impact and getting to utilize story brand and that framework and then like getting to impact young people, which is just something personally that's really important to me, like impact young people and pour back into people the same way people poured into me, that would be my dream job. And so as I had like struck out for these roles that I really thought I wanted, I really started thinking long-term about, could I do this for myself if it doesn't exist at the company I'm working for? And so that's what I did. That was like my light bulb moment of like, you know, what would it take to do this? And we could get really deep into that about, you know, financially and like what that looked like.
Yeah.
But it was all in a good spot for me to make the jump and do it for myself. And I'm really glad I did. It's not been like the easiest at all. It's been really challenging, but really rewarding as well.
So would you say it would be more of an emotional shift that had you switch over careers, or a more rational one that kept growing ever since you didn't get your golfing job?
No, I mean, the golfing thing I go over, I still golf, but you know, that it's so funny in hindsight, that seems so small and so minuscule. And at the time it seemed like such a big deal.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely think it's more emotional.
Okay.
But I think it's more emotional because I loved the company I worked for. And beyond that, it's because I loved the people that I worked for, and I was just surrounded by incredible people. And, you know, a decade of my life, I'm 28 now. Like I'm old now. At the time I was 26, I think, when I left. So like, you know, not quite half, but a huge portion of my life and of my working life, I had known nothing else other than Chick-fil-A. And so that had become a huge part of my identity, even though I kind of denied to friends that it was.
Yeah.
Huge part of my identity. So it was definitely emotional in leaving. I think the rational of like, this is what makes sense for me to do. So I think it's both. Like the rational of I'm good at this and I could do this well and here's what it would look like. And I think the emotional side was more leaving the other job and felt like I was losing a core part of me at the time. And that was hard to get over. But I'm still involved with Chick-fil-A. I work with individual Chick-fil-A restaurants and do stuff with the corporate office still. So it's nice to still have them in my life. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And so right before I get you into advice for the younger people like me here listening on the podcast, you mentioned a while about being completely gutted when you didn't get that promotion, that job role that you enlisted for. And getting a first raise or a promotion as, let's say, a high school student in their first job that knows they aim for something bigger, knows they have what it takes, the skills, but they just get imposter syndrome and it feels intimidating or overwhelming. And where do I start? How do I ask, can you give me a raise? Like, how is it possible? What would be the top 1 or 2 things that you always advise when looking back you would give to people wanting to take that first step, that next step?
And getting that raise or promotion?
Yeah.
So 1, I'd make sure you have clarity. I think the mindset of, I know I have what it takes. I'm like, you're believing in your own ability, but do you have what it takes for what the role needs? So if it's a promotion, do you have clarity around what's actually required for that role? Because a lot of times I think people think like, well, I'm really good at my role, therefore I'm a good fit for the next role to get promoted. And that's not always the case. A lot of the times that next role requires a totally different skill set. That's one. If it's a raise, I think clarity around what the business values, because bottom line, like the business can't give out raises unless they're making profit. Like if you're working for a for-profit business, they have to make money in order to give out raises. So being able to, and this ties into the second thing, like tie your name to results or to qualities that are needed for the next role. So get the clarity you need. One, two, tie your name to those results, because when you can go to your boss and say, I want a raise, and it's not just a belief in myself. I can say, I want a raise because our business values A, B, and C. You know, metrics that I know are important to my boss are A, B, and C. So like for Chick-fil-A, maybe that would be like speed of service, right? Or, you know, you're a barista at a coffee shop, and they, you know, y'all measure how many customers per hour or something like that. And you're like, I'm the fastest at making this drink. Like if you can tie your name to that result and then ask for the raise or the promotion, that is the best way to do it. Or you know that next role for the promotion is like, we need someone who is really organized. And you can go in with proof that, hey, I've proven at this job that I am organized, therefore I'm the right person. That is the best way to go about getting a raise or promotion, because when you go in with ambiguity, like no wonder it's so intimidating, and no wonder you have imposter syndrome, because you're going in blind and then you get crushed whenever you don't get the role. And that's really tough, and that can do a lot like to your like emotions, like you talked about. And that's tough. So I think like going in with clarity and tying your name to results or qualities is really, really important. And that can kind of arm you with what you need in order to go get that raise or promotion.
Yeah. And equally so, it could be just, you know, you doing a couple of tasks for that promotion that the next role has. And you can walk in and say, and hey, I've already been doing this, and I know I'm good at it because I got the feedback from it. And you know, I consider myself the right person for this job.
That's right.
And now moving backwards to your emphasis on starting a personal brand when, you know, the people are already working as employees for a company. I know a lot of people tend to have this issue as soon as they're either fired in a more unhappy scenario, or they go and move across companies to another job, potentially even another industry. They have this dilemma around who they are as a person, because they've just been adapting to the values and the company's tasks and to-do lists. When is the best time to start working towards it, especially as a high school student, let's say? And why should we even place that emphasis on a personal brand?
Today is the best time to start. Stop what you're doing, pause the podcast, and let's get started. That's right. Right now is a great time to start. I'll ask you, Sonia, what is a brand? Because I think to build a personal brand, we have to be on the same playing field of what is a brand. What do you think?
You're putting me on the spot here. So I think a brand would be a reputation for either that they've made, and you've painted the picture of what they do and their logo. So they're really out there, and whenever we see like a McDonald's, just the M, you instantly know that's McDonald's. And
beyond instantly knowing it's McDonald's, you also have feelings tied to that place, right? Good or bad, you have an opinion, right? Like, because you know what it is. You nailed it. A brand is a reputation. And I've said, like, for a company, like your culture is who you are, your mission's what you do, your brand is how you are perceived. And that for people is like your brand is how you are perceived. It is your reputation. That's why I talked about with, you know, it's your name in a sense, like build a good name. That is building your brand. And so there's no better time than today to start doing that, because that's something you can take with you for the rest of your life, not just at work, but with your family, with your friends. Like, it's your reputation. I don't know many people who want to have a bad reputation, or, you know, I'll just start using the word brand here since you're talking about, like, no one wants to have a bad brand, and no one wants to be perceived as being inept or bad or, you know, difficult. No one wants that. Everyone wants, even if you're not a people pleaser, it's nice to have a good opinion of you, right? Like, it's nice to have you being associated with something that's good. And so the brand is this way. And so that's why it's important that even as someone is young, teenager, college, like, start building a personal brand that you're proud of. And we can dive into like how to do that well. But, you know, while it can be on social media. And like, if you're trying to build, you know, a company or a reputation that's important for you to do on social media, do it on social media. But it can also look like just working a shift at work or just hanging out with your friends. Like, you are always representing your brand because people are always gaining new emotions and feelings about you. And I say, like, your brand is when someone sees your name written down on a roster, whether it's at work, at school, for a team, in a group chat, it doesn't matter. Like, there's immediately a feeling that comes to their mind. And I think about it with companies. Like, I'm a big Disney fan. I'm actually wearing a Mickey Mouse polo today. Big Disney fan. I grew up loving it. Nike, like, that's a brand I love. Chick-fil-A, obviously. Apple, I love Apple. And like, people have feelings associated with those brands, good or bad. Like, when I see this little Mickey Mouse logo, I think about like walking down Main Street. Yeah, Magic Kingdom, like with my family and like growing up and going there, and those are good feelings. And that's the brand, that's their brand to me. And they've worked hard to build a good brand like that. And it doesn't take a lot to ruin one either. So if you want, we can dive into like how to do that well, but your brand is really how you're perceived. And when's the best start to start building a good personal brand? It's now. It's right now while you're listening to this podcast.
And so if I were to take you back in time to when you were my age, when you were 17, with all your expertise now about coaching and your focus on personal brands, what would be the one thing that you wished you knew if you could start all the way from the beginning again?
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Okay.
I think you can control what people think of you to a certain extent.
Okay.
Not 100% of the time, but I think you have a lot of influence over it. I love Stephen Covey's circles of influence. So you have like the circle of control. That's what's in your complete control. Circle of influence, what you can influence. And then what's you can't control nor influence. Brand is something I think you can influence.
Yeah.
And so you can't control it completely, but you can influence it. So I would tell myself like, hey, if you don't want to be perceived as, I'll use a real world example. When I came in and had my first leadership role, and I was your age, I was 17. I was a young leader, didn't know what I was doing at all. Probably not a great leader, but I had this perception, this brand of being someone who didn't care about the team. And it was because I came in and our business at the time was open till 10 p.m. And I can just tell you, like, everyone was more worried about going home by 10:05 than they were about like serving customers well at 9:30. And so when I became a leader, I wanted to change that. And so I came in and I told everyone they couldn't pre-close anything. I'm like, I don't care if we're here till 11:30. We're going to make sure that that guest that comes in at 9:30, like, they deserve the same experience as the guest who comes in at 7:30. If we're open, then they deserve the same experience. And so my brand was someone who didn't care about the team because it's like, Jacob just wants to keep us here till whatever. And that crushed me. I didn't like that. I wanted to have a good reputation as a leader. I did care about them was the bottom line, but I felt like I had to break bad habits to build good ones. And I felt like it was a necessary evil to do. And at the time I didn't know how to navigate it well. So if I could go back, I'd tell myself like, hey, what do you want to be known for? You need to identify that.
Okay.
And if I were talking to a young person now, like, identify 3 things that you want to be known for. Because if you identify 10, you know, when everything's important, nothing is, you're not going to remember 10. You can remember 3. And so identify 3 things that you want to be known for. And if you're having trouble with this, I would say utilize our good friend AI and personality tests. If you've ever taken any personality tests, like, I think they're a really great way to give us adjectives and give us words to help us put words to like how we act and feel. And I don't think personality tests put you in the box. I think, again, they're really good at giving you words, and I know not everyone loves them, but really good at giving words. And so taking some of these, you know, there's a ton out there now, a ton that are free too, to give you adjectives. And utilize AI, you know, go into ChatGPT and say like, hey, give me a list of 50 words that describe someone who, you know, I like the Enneagram. Here's an Enneagram 8. And I can go through there and be like, ooh, like competitive. I don't know. Does competitive have a good brand? I don't know. But like, you know, someone who has a high standard of excellence. That's personally one of mine. Like, everything that I want to do to a really, really high standard. And so get this down to 3, like, start to pick out words that like, I want to be known as someone who is A, B, and C. And then lastly, it's on you to represent that. So how can you make sure you're representing it? 1, invite in accountability. Tell someone who cares about you and has your best interests at heart, like, hey, I want to be known as someone who's A, B, and C, because then they can call you out on it when you're not acting that way, right? Yeah. And if you're consistent about representing those 3 things well, I promise, not 100% of the time, but over half the time, people will start to recognize you as someone who's that way. If you're working right now, tell your boss, say, hey, I want to be known as someone who's A, B, and C. And then again, you invite in accountability and investment from them. Like if they know they have someone who's motivated and representing themselves well, that leader's going to be motivated to want to invest in you as well. So
Absolutely.
you can influence what people think of you. And I think that's the secret to building a strong personal brand.
And at the end, it's a win-win situation. I mean, you rise by helping others and giving value to others. So if you put yourself out there as an enthusiastic, happy person, you can 100% create this ripple effect where other people will smile at you back, you know? And it works the same in business and the workflow.
That's right.
One of your biggest takeaways that you said is take advantage of the opportunities you never expect. I'm going to bring you back to that and tie it in to your coaching work.
Okay.
Because now that the person listening has let that sink in, I want to dive deeper and ask you, what is one of the most big or some of the most frequent missed opportunities that you see in employees when they don't take that leap of faith or they don't engage in that opportunity?
I think one like that, I'll go back to the branding, like you not doing a good job. You're building a bad reputation for yourself. And look, like the reality of our world is there's a little bit of who you know matters.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. You know, it might not be a reality we all like, but let's at least address it that is important. And so I think like the people you're working for, like you never know when they're going to come back into your life.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you like how many times along my career journey where it's gone back to this person I worked for 7 years ago who made an impact on like something I'm doing now. And because I did a good job then, I still built a strong brand with them then. So I think like be where your feet are and really focus in on doing good work and not messing up your brand. That doesn't mean like stick around in a poisonous work environment and like a terrible culture.
Absolutely.
There's even ways to exit those well where you can still hold your head up. But like how you represent yourself matters because you never know who's watching. And those people who are watching might, an unexpected opportunity might come years later. And what if their only interaction with you is like this, oh, well, they were a terrible employee at 16. So they're probably not much better now. They're 32. It's like, it's been 16 years. Like,
and they still carry that reputation. Yeah.
That's right. They still carry that thought. And again, that's what your brand precedes you. Right. And so work really hard and do good work and represent yourself well, no matter the circumstance. And if it's a poisonous circumstance, you can get out of it, but you can still represent yourself well while you do that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I mean, it so often happens to me as well that it works both ways. If you put yourself out there positively, you're going to have that one person that's watching that says, this person is great for my new role. I'm going to send them an email, see if they're interested.
That's right.
Or, oppositely, they've been watching you and maybe on a particular day, you just felt like giving up or you were there, and you didn't give your best and they backed away. And that's an opportunity that you missed. So I want to take you now to something that you would say constantly to your family, particularly that your daughter would hear every single day. And because you're also a dad and a coach, I want to make that connection now with family also, because living with someone that already has all of these values and mentality and mindset to go on every single day sets up a good foundation, in my opinion, for your daughter. What's one piece of advice that you hope your daughter grows up always remembering and takes away from all the feedback that you're giving her, all the advice that you're giving her?
Well, I might get emotional thinking about this. She's 3, and so I can't even fathom like adult version of her, which is just scary. Gosh, one piece of advice, I think like you can do whatever you want to do, and I'll help you get there. Like just work hard. But you can do whatever and people believe in you. And I really do believe that for any young person, like you really can do whatever you want. Now, of course, there's exceptions. Cannot be an Olympic athlete. I was not gifted in that area, nor it's way too late for me to try. But outside of like some of that 1% stuff, and sometimes you can do that 1% stuff, but like you can do whatever you want. Like do something that you believe in, I think is like identify what values you have and like what your beliefs are. And like find out what you're good at and put all your effort into that, because you're going to have so much more fun if you can find out like, where am I skilled? What do I believe in? Where do those align? And go do that forever. And maybe it's not a job. Maybe it's like, hey, like I want to go be like a mom. And I'm like,
Yeah.
awesome. Like if that's where you're skilled, like I want to go be a dad. Like go do that. Like that sounds amazing. But finding out where your passions and your skills align is so important. I think two amazing movies are Inside Out 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They do such a good job of identifying these core emotions. And number two,
Yeah.
she has her belief system,
Yeah.
which is like, it's, those movies are so much more deep than a Pixar movie for an 8-year-old. So identifying like, what are you passionate about? What do you believe in? Like, what are your core values and where can you align those with the skills you have? There you can do anything you want and you're really going to enjoy life. And that's what I want for my daughters, for her to love life and love people and love relationships. And that's what I tell her.
Yeah. And also, I think, just to add on a little bit to what you've said,
Yeah.
a lot of people have this, misconception that if they're not going to get the audience or they're not going to build, that fan base or people to believe in their own mission, in their own values, it's just a matter of time, honestly. I mean, if you clearly, as you said, identify your passion, your like what you're good at, and you do it, and you give all your, effort, and you put in all that you've got, 100%, the community will follow. You'll build yourself that close circle of friends that will support you even more. And you just gotta keep believing in what you do. And I want to bring you back to the green room when we were talking about books and bookshelves and the world of literature. And I know that we both appreciate having books on our shelves. I know that you've got a couple more books than I can see behind you. And I also have a couple of names here. What would you say, Jacob, are the top 2 books that completely transformed your perspective through which you view life?
I have to pick 2. I'll pick 2. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Everyone should read Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
There's several books on habits. I think James Clear's is the best.
Yeah.
There's a reason it has stayed on the bestsellers list since it came out in 2019. I reference lessons from that book daily with clients.
Okay.
One of the best books I've ever read. Not even just business-wise. I think in life, that's a great book. Have you ever read it?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And I
I'm
also
like,
did
it's...
his 11 lessons challenge. I don't know if you've done that, but it's amazing. It's great.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Second one I'll say is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Are you familiar with this one?
This one I'm not.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a psychologist in the early 20th century. So he hung out in Vienna with Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, and several other famous psychologists. They were all living in the same city and having coffee together. I think there's a life lesson there in that surround yourself with like-minded, strong people. You're all going to make each other better. So Freud argued that like humankind, like our innate desire that's driving us is this idea of finding pleasure. Alfred Adler argued that it was towards power. And Viktor Frankl argued that it's towards a meaning. And when we don't find meaning, then we find that that's when we go searching for pleasure and for power. And book is, I'll say, very deep and hard to read at times because Viktor Frankl is also Jewish and survived the Holocaust. And so he's teaching all of this while going through the Holocaust. So incredible book, really about like purpose and how do you find purpose in life. And he goes through something he invented called logotherapy, where it's helping people find meaning in their life. And kind of going back to the advice I'd give my daughter, like that's what it's all about. Like, can you find purpose and find meaning? Because life will be a lot more fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whenever you do. So those are the 2, I'd say.
Okay, great picks. Yeah, I'm interested about this one since it's the first time I listen about it and I hear about it, and definitely gonna hear more and look at it. Especially you sold me on the word there with purpose.
Yeah.
My mom is very keen on that word, and
I love it.
Absolutely agree. And now I want to get you into an emotional side of the podcast, which is the tradition here on the Smarter Podcast, where I ask my last guest, in this case, Luca Caruana, to leave a question for the next one. So here's the question that he left over. What's one limiting belief that you used to have that held you back from achieving your dreams?
It's a deep question. It's a good question. I think that I needed, and this could go for so many different instances, but that I needed one more thing in order to be successful. I can always add the okay, I can go chase this dream goal I have once I
Mhm.
do this, or once I
Yeah.
have this, or this certificate, or this degree, or,
Yeah.
this size audience or
Yeah.
whatever. And I think I've had several breakthroughs in my life. The biggest one was the book as far as getting over this because, and hey, I'll compliment you. You've done this as well. I mean, I've always wanted to be an author. I
Yeah.
never thought about doing it as a teenager. And then when I started my own business, I thought about like what the book could do for my business
Yeah. Yeah.
and how badly I wanted to be an author. And now I kind of make my own schedule so I can make time for it.
Mhm.
But thought like, what if no one reads it? And that was limiting belief. So getting over that and being like, I'm going to write it. And if this
Yeah.
helps one person, you know what? I can say I accomplished a lifelong goal of becoming an author.
Mhm.
And I can proudly say that not just one person's read it. Like we're humble brag. We've sold over 1,000 copies at this point. So as of like this month, which is great. And
Mhm.
I still can't believe that. So I think the limiting belief was like that you can't just start now to work on a lifelong goal.
Yeah.
That I kept thinking like, well, I'll start whenever I have this. And that
Mhm.
list just kept growing of, well, whenever I do this, then I can do this, whether it's marriage, having kids, like
Mhm.
writing a book, starting a business, that
Yeah.
you can actually take the first step right now. You don't need whatever that next thing is. Just do it. I'm like, Nike,
Yeah.
just do it. Take the first
Yeah.
step. I think you'll be amazed how much you can do if you just take the first step.
Absolutely. And hey, since we're recording this on the 4th of June, in 2 days it's going to be the 1-year anniversary since you launched Master Your
That's
First
right.
Job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, congratulations and happy early anniversary. Best of luck. I mean, with all that's going to go on in the future, it's really an amazing tool for anyone just starting out. And I think you're on this mission, especially for the younger audience, to really help them, give them that knowledge that everyone wish they had, that's not taught in
Yeah.
school, that you helped and gave them that. So it's amazing. And I completely agree. Just start executing your motivation, your goal, your purpose, and you'll get there. And so, Jacob, I started the podcast with you talking directly with a person listening. I want to end it in the same way. So, if you have one advice, one habit, an end message for the listener, what would it be?
You can do anything you want. Like find what gives you purpose. I give
Yes.
the advice I give my dad. Like find what gives you purpose. Like look deep into yourself and find out what skills you have. And where those intersect, go do that forever. Like you will have such a big impact on the world around you. And if everyone did this, the world will be a better place of like finding what gives you purpose and looking at the skills you do have and doing work where that intersects and being proud of that work. Whether it's one of my best friends is an electrician. He loves it. And because of that, like he is so great with customers. And you might think like it's a blue collar job, whatever, but like he has an impact on people because he loves what he does. He has found his purpose. He can provide for his family and it's fun to him. And that's like, I think that is amazing. Like, and that should be celebrated, whether it's that or going and being a CEO of $100 billion company. Whichever one finds you purpose and you have the skills to do it, you're going to make the world a better place and you're going to have a lot of impact on people if you can find where those intersect and go do that forever.
Yeah, whatever makes you tick. Go ahead and do that. I love
That's
that.
right.
Thank you, Jacob Karnes, for being on the Smarter Podcast. It's truly been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Been a pleasure on my end as well.
All right. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate this podcast 5 stars or subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching to this, as that keeps helping us bring amazing people on the podcast that share their enthusiasm, their knowledge, and bring value to you and help you out in whatever situation you might be. I just wanted to tell you that I truly believe in your ability to create the life of your dreams. I'm Sonia Marta, and this is the Smart Podcast, and I can't wait to see you here next week.